Hello, good morning everyone. Today we are going to view more details about this very easy setup where we only need two lines. As we saw on previous videos, we only need an HMA and a linear regression. This red line is the HMA and this black line is the linear regression. Both indicators are standard and can be found on any platform. On another video we also saw the different type of moving average, like the HMA, simple moving average, exponential moving average, linear regression, and we compare the performance of the movement of each line, and we saw that the best line to define the trend is the linear regression, and the most sensible line is the HMA. So on this setup we are combining two lines, the most moving line to trigger signals and the more stable, more useful to define the trend, to filter the trades. On this example, when the black line is trending up, we filter only the long signals. The signals are these small triangles painted each time the HMA changes the trend. So this short is avoided and the long is taken. To better understand how we calculate the slope, let's see with detail the red line. And we can see that not only the HMA but any line has only one value per bar, so it is not a continuous line. So we have one value per bar, these are the HMA values per each bar. To calculate the slope of the HMA, we just take the difference between current value and previous bar value. On this example, this bar is at 43.00 and the previous is at 0.98. So we have two ticks. Between this and the previous, we have one tick positive. Between these two, both looks like being at the same price. If we look at the HMA in red, we can see that both are at 43.01, but visually we can see that we have a negative slope. The line is slightly going down. It is not possible to calculate with the vertical axis, which is the slope of that line. So we need to define a way to choose at which slope we have a signal. On this indicator we can see that the signal is using a threshold of 0.001. So on the first point the slope is so small that we don't paint a signal. Only when we reach a threshold that define on the input parameters, so we can avoid having noise and defining which is the minimum level to paint a signal. If the level is too high, we can have a delay between the signals. To calculate the slope of any line, we can use the indicator momentum. It is included on Ninja. Momentum just calculates the difference between current and previous certain number of bars. If we set 1 of period, we calculate the distance between current bar and previous bar. On the input series we can change, so instead of looking at the price, this is an example looking at the price. If we choose a bar type, it is easier to watch. On this example, each level looks at the difference between current close and previous close. We can see on this bar it is a positive 1 tick, and on this one is negative 1 tick. So this bar is closing down. But we can change the input series on any indicator. So if we want to look at this HMA of 18, we can change the input series, and instead of looking at the close, we look at the HMA of period 18, so we are looking at the same line. And now we get the slope, the difference between current HMA value and previous bar HMA value. As we can see on this bar, we have a negative momentum, so the slope is negative, but it is much lower than 1 tick, so it is not possible to calculate it with the grid. On this bar is negative. So we can define the threshold, the minimum threshold that the slope must reach to define that we are changing the trend. Let's see for an example where market is almost horizontal. On this bar we have an example where the red line is sloping down here. The slope is down, but only for a very low number. So we can filter those levels to avoid having a signal on those places. Here we are using a threshold, and the threshold is set to 0.001. This is because the previous signal was not painted. If we set a threshold of 0, then we get all the signals, even this one with so low level. So this is the importance of having a well-defined threshold. So we can avoid having noise signals. Usually we must start with a minimum, the value of the tick of the instrument. On crude oil the tick is 0.01. So this is the maximum, and we can start with a tenth of that number. So as a starting point, divide the tick value by 10. So we saw how to get the signals. The signals are when the HMA, the red line, changes the trend direction, taking into account the threshold. Then we have the slope of the regression line. So we use the same procedure to calculate the slope, and if the slope is bigger than the threshold, we have an uptrend, so we filter only long signals. If it is below the negative threshold, then we are on a downtrend. On this example, the HMA starts to trend up, so we have this triangle, and also the regression line is trending up. So we have two parameters for the HMA, the period and the threshold, and two parameters for the filter, the linear regression period and its own threshold. This setup can be created and automated with Marker Plus, and now we have it on an indicator format, so we can set all the settings, the period of the HMA, the threshold, if we want to ignore or not the linear regression trend filter, if we want to filter with the trend, then we only get the long signal. So with this indicator we have everything together: the HMA crossover and the filter of the linear regression slope. As to help us to find the better slope threshold, let's say that we are using a different instrument, for example Forex or currency futures, have a tick value much lower, so or the thresholds must be lower too. Look at the values of this slope. The tick value here on this British pound future is 0.0001, so we must use a related threshold. So 0.001 divided by 10 to have a starting point that should give us some good signals. Always as a starting point, try to use the tick value divided by 10 for the slope. With the momentum indicator with a period of 1, we can get the exact value of the slope. We only need to place on the input series the line which slope we want to measure. Hope this video has been useful for you. If you have any question about the indicator, the setup, or how to automate this setup, please post below this video. Thank you everyone, bye bye.